Dave, well, it's great to speak to you firstly in a head coach capacity at Hibernian FC, and well done on the appointment. What made this the right time for you to actively go out and apply for this job when you'd obviously been in the caretaker role a couple of times before?
Probably just the fact that I'd been in that position 4 times. And then on reflection, every time a new manager had been appointed and I was still part of the staff, you always take that little opportunity to reflect and think back on things. And it got to the point this season at the end where, on reflection, I wasn't ready any other time. I know I wasn't, just because of the challenges and things I'd faced after it and went on to experience. I was very fortunate to be in the position that I was able to learn from so many different people. But I just felt this time, as it came to the end, that I was at that point where I firmly believed I can do it. And I believed that now was the time to apply for the job officially and go and try and put my case forward to why I believe I can take this club forward. And I'm absolutely delighted that the club have seen that in the same way, and they've decided that they believe in me to take the club forward as well. So it's, as I say, I'm very proud, very delighted to be sitting here right now.
Yeah, what was that process like? I remember Malky Mackay talking in the press conference and other little bits of media that he said the presentation was almost 2.5 hours long, and there was one person on the interview panel that didn't have a question to ask.
I've heard a few people now say the length of the interview. I'm a man of few words anyway, normally. I would imagine that it's very hard. My message would say, you spoke for 2 hours. How did that even happen? You can't get 2 words out of me. So I don't think that was the case. I think when you go in there, it was something I was talking about that I felt really passionate about. As I've already said, I've been in a position where I've been able to learn so much over the last 3 years from a coaching capacity, but also 7 years as a player. You know, I've experienced many highs, many lows along the way with that. So I do feel I was in a position where I was able to just speak freely about what I believe could improve. And I also think, coming out of the process, I'd never really had anything to compare it to. I'd never been for an interview before. I've been very lucky that straight from school I went straight into professional football, went down south. And it wasn't until making the decision to retire at 33 to then take that next step into the next 20, 30 years of potential earnings in terms of what I wanted to do next, that I've ever had to think about applying for a job or anything. So I had nothing to compare it to, I had nothing to prepare for or to go off previously. It was literally how I believe the club and my vision of the club moving forward, and the importance of me knowing the club and knowing the staff and the players and all their strengths and weaknesses. I think that was the biggest thing I could pull on.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously you've been around the club for a long time now. How does that help you hit the ground running, knowing people's and players' strengths and weaknesses, the staff members' strengths and weaknesses, to actually firstly implement what you want to implement here at the football club, but also change a few things as well? Yeah,
I think that was the thing for me in my very first meeting with the staff at HTC and the players on day one, which was, there's no need for introductions here. I know every single player inside out. I know their strengths, their weaknesses. I know we've touched on that. And the same with the staff. You know, we're very, very lucky here that we've got some fantastic people, some exceptional at their job, some of them exceptional at their job, but they're all willing to learn and all wanted to take the club forward. And the one thing that I think is really, really important is that we're all pulling in the same direction every single day. But also the importance of me being able to start straight away knowing exactly how I believe we can take the club forward. I've added to that with the people I've brought back to the football club. Every one of them I've worked here before or still currently working here at the time. So they understand the expectation, they know what good looks like at the football club. And that was a big thing for me, to make sure that we get that togetherness and core all pulling in the same direction, all understanding exactly what a successful team actually looks like.
Yeah, let's talk about your backroom stuff then. Obviously starting with Eddie May, obviously Hibs fans know all about him. Why did you want him as your assistant head coach?
Because he's been there for me every single time in the interim periods. A massive help to me. It's very difficult when you're thrust into that position, especially the first time, preparing the team for to go and play Celtic in the cup final in the League Cup. I remember going to Eddie like, what do we do here? You know, so having that support, someone who's actually been in that position, not that position, but someone who has been in football for such a long time. He's a calming influence. He's very experienced. He knows the club inside out. but also his knowledge of the Scottish game. And then little things along the way where he's helped me were in-game decisions, and also just that calming influence, eyes and ears all the time around the training pitch, because I am a very hands-on and intense, enthusiastic on the training pitch. So it's important to have someone as well overseeing things as well and just picking up on different things. And I think that was an important thing when I was putting my background team together, is to make sure that we're covered on every basis, because everyone has their own strengths and their own weaknesses, and they all have to marry together to hopefully put together a winning formula.
Yeah, and obviously you brought in Liam Craig as first team coach, and Craig Sampson back to the club as goalkeeping coach as well. Just talk to us about those guys.
Yeah, well, you've given the two of them titles there. For me, and even Eddie, I see the three of them as assistants, and all very, very important to me. And as I've already touched on, all have their own strengths and weaknesses that complement my strengths and weaknesses. I think that was the most important thing. I also feel the importance of the type of people they are. There's so many players and different staff members in this building every single day that they'll all have different people that they gravitate towards, that they want to have relationships with and conversations with. And the people I've brought with Liam and Sammy especially are bright, bubbly people, very enthusiastic, always, regardless of result and performance, will behave the same way. So they're consistent all the time, and that's really important when you're around the players all the time. They'll nip things really, really early. There'll be the things that won't even get to me because they'll deal with them separately. And then on top of that, you've got Eddie, who's that calming influence all the time, very honest, and that blend together, I'm hoping I'll really be successful for the training ground every single day, and more importantly, the whole club moving forward then can all pull in the same direction. Yeah,
there's a lot of excitement around your appointment. I think one thing that the fans are really wanting to know is, what does a David Gray Hibs side look like?
I think the important thing for me is I don't like the word philosophy. I think when you're managing at this level or head coach at this level, the importance of being flexible and adaptable is vital. I think I've seen that now for the last 10 years, that on any given day, anyone can beat anyone, and the challenges you face, potentially going to Celtic Park, are very different from the challenges at home to Ross County, or even away to Ross County. They two gave that one fixture home and away is completely different depending on how that looks. So the importance to be flexible and adaptable within that, and having a plan A, plan B, and sometimes even a plan C to make sure we get the right result in games is really, really important, rather than having that fixed mindset on, I'm always going to play 4-3-3 or I'm always going to play 3-5-2. Not at all. I think it'll come. I don't believe there's one right or wrong way to play. I think there's only a right and wrong way to play your opponent, and that's the most important thing, that we'll go into every single game with a game plan and a focus to try and win every single game. But we won't look the same in terms of the shape every time. The shape for me is just the difference of a few yards either side. It's all about the principles and identity that I want my Hibs team to look like within any shape of whatever we decide to play, and there'll be some non-negotiables within that.
Yeah, talk to us about those non-negotiables then, from a player's point of view, but also a kind of stylistic identity point of view.
Well, I think that starts from the minute you walk in the door. At the training ground, I think it's really important that we, as coaches and staff, we're trying to improve the players every single day. Firstly, technically, tactically, physically, and mentally. I think that's a real big one. The mental one's a real thing that's been labelled often at this football club, which I think is wrong. I think there's, over the years since I've been at the football club, a real successful time. There is challenges that come with playing with this football club because of the expectation that's there, and rightly so, because it is a fantastic club with an amazing fan base, the facilities, and just the demands that put on being at such a big club. So to make sure the players are aware of that all the time, but also not to be intimidated by it at all. When it's good at this place, it's one of the best places to play football. I've experienced it, very lucky to have done it. And again, the people that I've brought back to the football club have experienced that as well. So that's a big thing. But also, in terms of the way we play, we'll be aggressive in terms of intensity all the time. I think that's really important. We'll attack well 11, defend well 11. There'll be no grey areas or accountability right across the board, from top to bottom, and that starts every single day from the minute you walk in the door, and that'll be the standards we set as a group. We'll all agree to, and that way we're all accountable for it when it doesn't happen, and we can call people out on it, more importantly, but it's all for the right reasons and all to try and take the club forward, and to actually put together what I believe good looks like, which is the most important thing, because we move into pre-season now, and that's the challenge coming into pre-season, which is you want the players to try and get into the mindset of what hard work actually feels like. First and foremost, that's a challenge, but can we get the players as fit and as strong as we possibly can, as safely as we can for the start of the season, but also to really understand what good looks like. And that was a challenge we set all the staff on day one and the players to come up with what they believe good looks like, married with what I believe, and let's put it all together. Then there's accountability there from top to bottom, that we all know what we think that looks like. So anytime a visitor comes up to HTC, they'll walk into this building and realise that's a real working environment, high performance environment, and that's what good actually looks like when they leave. And I think that's the most important thing. If we can get that bit right, which I firmly believe we will, that should lead to success.
Yeah, and that work's obviously already started. Pre-season is underway. We've been in and around the training ground the last few days. The players look pretty tired, right?
Tired? A wee bit maybe. I think it's been tough for them, rightly so. I think, as I've already touched on, you need to feel what hard work actually feels like. One thing I would say is the response I've had for the players has been brilliant. Every single one of them. Day one, I said to every single player here that what's happened previously is gone. There's a new manager or head coach in the building at the moment. The new staff have all got fresh eyes as well, and it's an opportunity for everyone to really stake a claim to push into the team as much as they possibly can. Now, naturally there'll be ins and outs, because that's what happens every single window, especially at the start of the season, because the club needs to evolve and the squad needs to evolve all the time. And it's obviously important for players to be playing all the time. I think if there be players who maybe haven't been playing as much, they need to be playing. That's one thing I would always recommend to every player, that he plays as many games as you can. So I think that'll happen naturally over the coming days. But in terms of how they're working at the moment, yes, it's been tough, rightly so. I think that's the most important thing, as I've already touched on, the importance of feeling what hard work actually looks like and feels like. But as I've already said, the response has been really good, and the positive thing for them is it's going to get worse.
And just finally, obviously, the fixtures came out earlier today as well. Obviously, starting the season away at St Mirren. When the fixture list comes out, I suppose that then really kind of whets the appetite for you, knowing that it's not too far away now. Yeah,
I think I've been having a feeling of that the expectation, everyone waiting for the fixtures, but my mindset's been fully on Elgin. The pre-season started, testing last week. The players have been brilliant since they came back. They're all in a good physical condition, but everything's geared up towards Elgin. That's the first game, the first competitive game, and the challenge and expectation that I'll be putting on the players, and the players will expect and want, is the opportunity to try and win a cup. That's a challenge set at the start of every season. I've been very lucky that I've managed to do that, but also the experiences I've had, getting to semi-finals, cup finals along the way, that, as I've already touched on, this is a fantastic club with a real opportunity to achieve things, and that starts, the opportunity to try and do that starts with a real tough game away to Elgin, which is a different experience for many of the players, especially new ones coming in. It'll be very different, because these are not pre-season friendlies at all. They are first competitive games of the season, and the first most important game towards where we need to get to in the season.
Absolutely, Dave. Good luck, and thank you for speaking to us.
Thanks very much. Cheers.